Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, Maths Made Easy with Terry in 10 minutes. So we're going to be talking about how to factorize and solve cubic functions, okay? And please try as much as possible to review the previous video where we talked about the cubic functions, just an overview, and we compared cubic and quadratic functions and tried to see similarities and took some notes as well. If you've not subscribed, shared or liked these videos, my previous videos, I don't know what you're waiting for. Make sure you subscribe so that and click the notification bell. So when I post new video, you'll be the first person to know. So how do you factorize? There are about 6 methods we use to factorize. In this video, I'm going to talk about 4 and the other 2 will not be discussed here. All right, so I'm going to write it down. There's 6 methods. But before we talk about that, just a reminder of a cubic function. So for some of you that have watched the previous video, I told you a cubic function have a standard form of ax cubed plus bx squared plus cx plus what? D, where a is the cubic coefficient, b quadratic coefficient, c linear coefficient, and d the constant of free term. And I also told you that a must not be equal to what? 0. Okay, let's talk about the methods, all right? So we'll talk about the methods of factorizing, okay? So we'll talk about the methods of factorizing or solving cubic functions. Okay, so the first one is going to be factorization by common factors. Okay, so the first method is called factorization by common factors. Now this method is very limited, okay, because it's not really applicable to most cases. But for this, the equation must have a D, okay? Must have D. Okay, so the equation that you're going to use this method must have a D and the linear constant. Okay, so the equation must have a D and a linear constant. So something like 3x cubed plus 4x squared plus 5. So there must be a constant there plus 6x plus 5. There must be a constant there as well as D. Is that okay? Number 2 is the method is called the factor theorem and long division. Okay, the second method is the factor theorem and long division. Now, this is basically the best, okay? If I put it there, is the best method, okay? But the only problem with this is that it's a long, very long method, all right? It's very long, all right? But if you use this method, you will definitely get the answer. But to use this method as well, the equation must have a D. Okay, so the equation must have D. All right, so usually most prefer to use this method. All right, but if the equation does not have a D, sadly you can't use it. Now the next method is what we call the factor theorem. And KX method. The factor theorem and KX method. Now for this one, the equation must have D and A must be equal to 1. Okay? And A must be equal to 1. So that means the A in the that means the cubic coefficient must be 1 for you to solve this. So for example, you could have something like x cubed plus 7x plus 3x, so x cubed plus 7x squared plus 3x plus 7, okay? But you must have, the a must be equal to 1, all right? Now, the other two methods I'm going to talk about, but before that, let me introduce the fourth one, okay? It's what we call the factoring x out method, all right? Factoring x out of the equation in a cubic, okay? It has a very long name, in a cubic equation with constants. So in this one, it's called factoring x out. So you're going to factor x out in this scenario here, all right? Now, but in this case, what you notice is that equation must not have a d. So that means the equation you are going to talk about must not. Okay? So the equation must not have a d. Then the next one is, which we're not going to talk about. The next one we're going to, is what we call the using discriminant method. Okay, so this method works regardless of d, okay? Regardless of d, this method can work. But we're not going to talk about it in this video. And the last one that people use as well is just plotting the graph. So this is not sketching, but plotting, okay? So plotting the graph, we're not going to discuss this here as well. And it also works regardless of d. So this two, okay, will not be discussed here, okay? We're not going to discuss this two. We're going to just focus on this 4 here, okay? We're going to focus on this 4. And the first one is factorization by common factors. The equation must have what? Must have a d, okay? So the key thing here is that it must have a d, and it must have what? Linear what? Constant. Okay? Factor theorem and log division usually is the best or the most popular. Let me say the most popular. But it's long, but you must have what? D. Now, the next one we're going to talk about is the factor theorem and KS method. Here, you must have a D, and also your A must be equal to 1. But when you're factoring x out of the equation in a cubic without, okay? So it's not with, it's without, sorry. This part here is without constants. It's without constants. No, it cannot be with, okay? So it's without constant. Let me see if I can clean this. Okay, so it's meant to be without constant, not with. Without constant, okay? And in this case here, it must not have a D. So that means there should not be constant, okay? All right, so this is it. It must not have a D. And the other two methods, discriminant method and plotting the graph, you can play around with this one, but I'm not going to talk about this in this video. All right, so the next video, I'm going to start with the first one, factorization by what? Common factors, okay? I'm going to talk about this one, the first one, factorization by common factors. So I'm going to see you in the next video. And if you've not subscribed, I don't know what you're waiting for, click the notification bell. So when I upload this video, you'll be the first person to know. So I'm going to see you soon. All right? So I'm going to see you soon.